Boom, happy Friday. So we're going to be doing a live coaching call this Friday. Don't know how long it's going to be. I do expect to have some phone calls in between, but I will try to answer any questions that you have. Just got done at the gym, so I'm a little bit sweaty, smelly, and I'm ready to answer some questions. So let's do this. Whenever you're in here, just start asking questions or any questions you might have. Otherwise, I'm going to just start rambling. So let's see how it goes. Happy Friday, happy Friday. Give it a couple minutes to get some people on here. I just sent the email out. Posted on my IG. Let me do that real quick because I'm a minute early. We are live Q&A right now. Whoops. Free coaching call going on right now. So if you have any wholesaling questions, real estate questions, bring them over and we'll answer them. So take advantage of it while I am live. This is information I paid a lot of money for, and you guys can get that for free if you get in here. So get your butt in here. Uh-oh. No! My announcement never went through. Well, that's a bummer. Let me know if you're here. Let me know. Let me know. Why is this not working? Can you hear me all right? Bruh. Alright, well, we're just going to delete this. So, whoops. Instagram is not letting me upload anything right now. Not cool. Not cool at all. Live coaching call going on right now. YouTube, Wholesale to Freedom. Paid $50,000 for this information. If you want that free or any questions you have answered, come join us. Limited time. All my friends are heathens, take it slow. So who's in here? I want to see who's in here before I start rambling. And if you guys can hear me, because I'm using my webcam today because I'm not in office. So if you can hear me all right, say, I can hear you all right, Alex. Help the brother out. Also, if you have any questions, let me know. But for those who are watching after I'm live, if you missed me or you didn't get the notification, make sure you click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and select all notifications. That way you get notified when I go live, so you can take advantage of these situations. And if whatever problems, issues you're having in your business, I'm here to help you guys out. You know, I'm trying to put out as much free and valuable content as possible so I can grow the channel. And I can only do that if you guys ask the questions. So Mark said, I can hear you okay. Awesome, Mark. I appreciate that, brother. Do you all have any questions? If not, I'm going to talk about something cool that I realized for the month of March, and it's not even over. So for the month of March, I get all the time, I hear from a lot of wholesalers that are getting started, even people who have been in the business for some time, that they're getting a lot of people who are not interested. They're getting a lot of people who maybe are just not, you know, they want retail. And I've actually had about 290 people tell me this just this month alone that they're not interested in selling. And I've got about 2, maybe 3 contracts from those 290 people. So we're talking about a lot of people that we're going through to get these contracts, these opportunities, and this is a normal part of the business, so don't get discouraged. My Home said, can you talk about scaling with a VA? Yeah, so that was the biggest lesson for me. That's a great question. And I think scaling with a VA is, you know, reasonable, and I think it is. I mean, I've done it. It is going to cost you some money. So if you're established, you have money to spend, I still recommend you getting into the mud, getting into the dirt, and doing this business yourself. And the reason why is because then you get to learn every aspect of the business, as far as the cold calling, talking to sellers, talking to buyers. The systems that you're using, Call Tools, CallRail, InvestorFuse, whatever system you're using, REI Sift, you're going to have to teach these VAs on how to use them. And if you don't know how to use them, then you got to depend on, somebody to hire to train them on how to use it, or maybe the company itself. So what I say is, don't hire because you're lazy. If you're quote unquote scaling up, it should be because you're getting multiple deals a month and you don't have the time to focus on every aspect of the business. Because let's say you're trying to spend all that time dispoing those properties, then you're not going to have a lot of time to start acquiring. So you're going to have this cycle of leads where you stop doing the acquisition process because you're so bogged down by disposition, selling the properties that you have under contract. The marketing is just going to stop. So for that reason, I don't recommend you scale up until scale when it hurts, not when you're not because you're lazy or you don't want to do it. So if it's not hurting right now, don't scale up. It's going to be a waste of money. You're going to burn through money. The VAs are not as good as you, and once you have some money to burn, some time and energy to focus on hiring out correctly, building that strong structure, then do it. By all means, then do it. So that is my opinion. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, let me know. Because I tried to scale up. I had the knowledge and I had everything, but I didn't know everything to a T, and I was being lazy, and I tried to scale up, and because I wanted the time freedom and I thought I could do it where I was at, and I was sadly mistaken. Yeah, absolutely. That was a great question. That was a great question. But VAs are extremely useful, extremely powerful to burn through a lot of data, and grab the people that are the most motivated. Because usually if a VA can get somebody on contract or even set up an appointment, chances are they're motivated, because again, the VA is only going to be good as 80% as you. So you just got to remember that. Why is nothing uploading? So I'm trying to upload all my announcements to Instagram, but Instagram is just not working right now. So I don't know what's going on with that. If you have a question, let me know. I'm here to answer questions. But like I was mentioning earlier, I have over 290 people who are not interested this month. Would you recommend PropStream to people who are just starting out? So PropStream is good. The only reason I really like PropStream is because you can pull like niche data or niche data. So like the utility liens, HOA liens, you can pull child support liens. So that real unique data, you can pull that at a very cheap cost. But honestly, you can pull high equity data from ListSource. It's going to cost a little bit more up front, but that high equity data should be enough data for you for the entire year. So you can cold call that list, keeping track of who you talk to, who you haven't, and focus on contacting the people you have not contacted yet. Keeping track of all the dispositions, so not interested, do not calls, matching them up with the correct phone numbers. And you can use, but Instagram's not working for you either, okay. And you can use REI Sift to do that, or you can do it in an Excel sheet. It's much harder unless you're Excel savvy. But you can actually, you can use PropStream just for that niche data, and I use it for pulling comps, because it's kind of difficult to get MLS access from a realtor, especially now. But it's not impossible, right? I just choose to use PropStream because I can use it efficiently I can comp out a property in less than 10 minutes. So that's why I use it. And I will talk about the apps and software. Just give me 1 second. I got a phone call. Hey Steve, how you doing? So I just let them know like where the title company is and the liens on the property, and that's about it. So I said, we're waiting on the liens. We're waiting on what comes up just to see, if closing by next Friday is even possible. And that's what he was waiting on, and that's all I translated to him. So I asked him also. That's the seller. No, I was talking to Sean. Yeah, so I told him, hey, we're good to close by Friday. I just need to know where you're at because that way we can tag team this. And I still haven't got not. That's the part that I have not gotten a response since Thursday. So yeah, so I just told him, the seller's playing hardball. We got till next Friday to close, and he said, well, I'll call you back within the hour. He never did, and then I messaged him the next day, told him what the title company told me about the lien, or the mortgage rather, and so I've just been waiting on him at this point. Yep.
In a goose 24 hours, sign that not necessarily for Sean, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I won't mention the pricing or anything, but just say basically he's playing hardball.
I want you guys to listen to this. This is a partner I work with, and we're trying to work through closing a $75,000 deal right now.
How you communicated it, or are you communicating that?
Yeah, I just let him know, the seller said we were going to get 60 days with 5K deposit, but then he said, I'll give you 21 days with no deposit. Normally we go back and get an extension, no problem, but this guy is trying to play hardball. And for that reason, we do everything we can to make it easier for you guys, but sometimes, the seller is the way they are, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. And are you alright? I mean, because one thing that might be, I don't know, like one thing that might be worth saying is that because we weren't Sean outside, right? You know what I mean? Like, another thing to say could be, like, we don't know if maybe he got another offer.
He's also Australian, which is hilarious.
Which is why he's not honoring this.
Yeah, and so he, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I say that, because obviously we want to push Sean outside, right? Like, because we don't want him to know it's about, hey, we're going to pay more, therefore lose our assignment. We want to be like, hey, we don't want to lose this deal. Like, this guy's been a bit of a pretty, it can be closed by Friday.
Right, yeah, so that's all I need to know, and then from there I can actually take action and come up with a game plan.
Yeah, okay. Well, so, I'm going to be with him directly, yeah, I'll definitely know where he's at. Whether that he doesn't know or whatever, but like, he obviously, he can't not return my call when I'm standing in front of him.
Right, that's perfect.
So, I wanted to do that anyway, but as I said, I was actually holding off. I didn't want to go see it while I knew you were talking to him, because I didn't want to like just get in the middle of that, so I actually held back, but I literally want to go see this house, because I think it's on the market like now. And it's a fucking beautiful rehab deal on it. So yeah, okay, I'll go do that, amend him at 2, and I'll do what I want to do. Initially, and then at the end, I'll just pick his brain a little bit on it. Because we already been texting it. He texted me like, he obviously dealt with you with it, but he did text me when I sent it out. So like, he knew that we had a JV, we already, so I'll just like, hey, so what happened? You got the contract, and I'll bring it up.
Perfect, yeah.
Alright, man. Cool, girl. I'll let you know how it goes.
Alright, sounds good, Steve. I appreciate it.
Alright, man. Bye.
Bye. Sorry about that, y'all. So, like I said, I'm working on a $75,000 deal right now. We're trying to close by next Friday. This is going to be the biggest deal that I've ever done. It was going to be a $100,000 deal, but because my buyer is such a serious buyer, he's bought from me before. He asked if I could do $75,000. I said sure. And the seller's playing hardball. So originally the seller had told us we were going to get 60 days on contract if we put a $5K non-refundable down. Of course, I'm not going to do that up front because there's risk involved with that. It was a 16-unit building, and it needed everything. It was completely gutted. It had termite damage. And for that reason, I'm not going to put up that money for that risk. So he said, I'll give you 21 days, no deposit, just to see if you can move it. So I found somebody within a week. And like I said, he agreed to the price. I went back to the seller, said, hey, I'm getting you the $5,000 non-refundable, but I need that 60 days now. And he said, wait a minute. I'm going to need more than that. You're going to have to pay me more because you're asking for more time. And he's kind of being a dick because he's an investor too. And he knows he's got us where we want. So I've made the most money from investor sellers. My biggest three, this would be my third biggest, but my biggest overall, and they were all from investor sellers, not even motivated sellers, like normal sellers. So even investors have problems you can solve too and make money off of it. And actually, like I said, that's where I made the most money. First deal was $65,000. The next one was a realtor investor, and I made $20,000 off of it. And then this one's an investor. He's a flipper, and I'm about to make 75 if we can get the guy to close. So my buyer thought he was going to have 45 days. He now has less than 2 weeks to close, and I haven't got a response from him whether or not he can close. He's a serious buyer, so I have no doubt he can do it. But the guy I was partnering with originally is meeting up with him for a different property. And he's going to get kind of confront him and ask him what's going on so we can kind of get some game plan together for next week. Because obviously this is a big deal. We got room to play, but we don't want to lose this deal. But talking about the apps and software that I use REI Sift to keep track of all my data. So every time I have a cold call campaign, text blast campaign, I go and update that information in the REI Sift. So who I contacted, who I didn't, the wrong numbers, the do not calls, the non-interesteds, and I tag them so that way I can neatly organize my data and I'm only contacting the people that I've never contacted before. Because we're getting into an age of information and where data is king, right? Money and cash is king, but now for marketing, it's going to be data. That's why Facebook was so powerful until the government stepped in. And even now it's still powerful, but it's just a little bit harder. So REI Sift, I use that to manage my data. And then I use Smarter Contact for my text blasting campaigns because they have a 0% carrier block rate in the last campaigns that I ran. No other service has had that. I use PropStream for my data and for my comps, pulling my comps. I also use Podio. It's free. I set up my free Podio CRM to keep track of all my leads, my offers, my transactions, stay organized for my VAs. And I have a whole free build out video on how I did that because I was paying $250 a month for Investor Fuse that uses Podio, and I didn't even use half the stuff that they had, and I wasted over like $6,000 on that system. Never used it to its max capabilities. I built a free one, and it's so much more better. It's more fun. I get to customize it how I want. So I strongly recommend Podio as a free CRM. You can build it out exactly how I show you in my video. And what are some other systems that I use right now? Oh, Deal Machine. So I go driving for dollars, and that's how I do a lot of deals, is driving for dollars. This $75,000 deal was a driving for dollars deal virtually. And I was using Google Street View. I was actually doing research on a vacant lot in my virtual market. And I look up and I see this big abandoned building all by itself. And I said, that's interesting. So I street viewed over to it. And sure enough, it was like this huge building, and apartments where I'm doing my wholesaling is very rare. So I said, I'll try to find the owner. So sure enough, I looked up opencorporates.com because it was owned by an LLC. I found the owner, cold called him, and now here we are. So, I mean, it was just kind of serendipity how that happened, but I believe luck favors the bold and those who are going to go out and get it. And I think that's what's going on here is, I saw the opportunity, I took it, and sometimes that's all it really is. There was no list. It was just simply me looking at a property that looked vacant, looked up the owner, called him up, And that's it. If you guys can have the confidence to call people no matter where they are and who they are, that is the most important aspect of this business, because it's off the premise of solving problems. And the confidence of being able to do that comes with experience, but more importantly, having a solid script, or having a solid, structure on how you talk to the sellers. So that's something I pride myself at being very great at. Organization, I'm terrible, but talking to sellers is like, I learned from Kong 101, and that's what he does. So I learned everything he taught me, and I kind of mixed it in with my own philosophy and everything, and here we are. So I hope that was I hope you guys found value out of the conversation, out of what I just said, because I tend to ramble. So if you don't like what I'm saying, or you feel like you want to hear something else, just let me know, because I will talk. I love to talk. But what did you guys think about that? What did you guys think about what I just talked about? Did any of that make sense? But yeah, that's pretty much. I get phone calls like that all the time where people. So that guy who JV'd with me, I've actually made him his highest assignment fee, and I paid him very good money. And for him going out to take pictures for me, even show his buyers, even talk to my buyer for me, I'm only paying him 10% because he didn't find the buyer. Normally you don't pay them anything, but because I have such a good relationship with this guy, he's a go-getter, he's a hustler, I still am going to take care of him, and he takes care of me, and so we keep that mutual benefit, that mutual relationship going. And like I said, he's from Australia, which is interesting, so he's got that unique accent. It's hilarious, but it works out well, because when you do good business with people, people do good business with you. And he's given me a free list of driving for dollars that his friend gave him. He didn't have the time to track it down, so I went ahead, skip trace all the data, looked up the owners, hit the campaigns, and so I'm getting free leads from him. It's been a really great experience. He's been the best partner I've had, and it took me a while to find him. And the way I found him was cold calling We Buy Houses websites in the local area that I'm wholesaling in. And because I had a property that I needed help with, and he found me a buyer like next day. And I knew from there this guy was serious. So it's all about getting what you want, right? Getting the answers that you need for your problems that you have, whether it's for you, the buyer, or the seller. Be a problem solver. If you can not be the person who has all the answers, but the person who can find all the answers, that's powerful right there. That's you'll never go broke a day in your life, because you will always have the ability to solve problems. And that's my philosophy. So a lot of people are like, money, 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 market, market, market. Hit this list 10 times, pull a new list, recycle, pull another list. I have 60,000 prospects from over the years that I just keep hitting over and over and over. And occasionally I pull, niche lists like utility liens, tax delinquencies, things like that. But for the most part, I'm just hitting the same data over and over and over, and getting new people, getting new interests. And it's really just that simple. And just manage and track your data. That's all it comes down to. And nobody ever taught me that. Even with my mentorship, I never learned that. I was taught to pull a list, hit it, pull another list, hit it, pull another list. And by the time you do that, I spent over $60,000 last year in marketing, and did not get the return on investment that I should have with that amount of market spend. I'm spending. I've reduced my budget since then to $25,000 a year currently as it sits, and I found this driving for dollars lead for free, essentially. So, there's better ways to do things, and I think I am now doing that. Whereas before I was doing it the way everybody teaches, and now I'm more focused on maximizing every single dollar. And it's a lot easier said than done, because it comes with organization, keeping track of everything, and just building that strong base, because it's like a house of cards. If you don't have a strong base on that house of cards, you're not going to have a successful business. talk about the lenders that you use for your wholesale deals. So for I want to make sure I understand your question correctly. So are you talking about acquiring the properties yourself as a wholesaler, or finding lenders for your buyers if they need them? Because those are two different things. But I guess I could talk on both of them. So if I'm acquiring properties for myself, I just ask around the local area Facebook groups if they know anybody, and then I just kind of talk to people, see what their interest rates are, what their points are, what their terms are, and you just find the best terms. So let's say you have a buyer who wants your property, but they can't close in cash. This is where it comes, it's important to network with hard money lenders and private money lenders on Facebook groups, or maybe even the cash buyers that you talk to. Just say, hey, listen, I know we closed a deal with you before, or you're looking at a couple of our properties. Do you happen to know anybody who can fund these deals in less than 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Okay, great. Do you mind if I get their contact info and I'll just let them know that you sent us? And then from there, you say, hey, Mr. Buyer, I understand you want to buy this property, but maybe you don't have the funds. Here's a hard money lender that does this all the time, and I would love to, introduce you two together and see if we can't make this work for everybody. And they will love you to death for that, because you have hooked them up with a way to acquire this property at a price that they're happy at. And on top of that, you've built a new relationship that sometimes the hard money lenders will actually pay you a commission for referring them people. Like, I have one local that pays me $1,000 per person I refer, even if it's not a deal that I'm selling. So, and it's amazing. Like, this is why real estate is such a relationship-based business, because you can capitalize on other people's professions and avenues by simply just connecting the dots. And I've probably made the most money from referrals, from just doing good business with people, because when you do good business, it makes the process a whole lot easier, because you have all these solutions for these problems that most wholesalers, when they get into, they don't have these solutions. I mean, let's talk about maybe you go to a real estate meetup for the first time and you're wondering, where do I find money? Where do I find lists? Where do I find, whatever you're looking for? And you find somebody who has all your answers. That person has now become extremely valuable to you. And so, becoming that valuable person, people will want to work with you and they will want to do business with you. So focus on being that person. Again, not having all the answers and being transparent when you don't, but let them know that you'll do everything you can to find the answers. And then if you can't do something, and let them know. Say, listen, I've tried every aspect. I've tried to make this work on every possibility that I can. This is where I'm at. Just be transparent. It goes without saying, do good business and be ethical, right, in the business that you do. Because you screw one person over, that's it. Your reputation's over. And I've been with somebody who does that, or who has done that, and the reputation, nobody touches his properties, even if they're a good price, because they know the reputation of that person. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any more into it in depth than that. What do you say to a seller who asks, how can you offer on my house before viewing it? Hey, Mr. Seller, that's a great question. And we do this all the time, because not only do we buy nationally, but we've bought in your area multiple times before. And as long as you and I are honest with each other, there's no reason why we can't move forward. They say, well, aren't you going to have to see the property? Oh, yeah, of course. I'll have to go, we'll go look at it, but we don't do that until we have an agreement in place, because it does take time and it costs us money to send people out there. So to save both your time and our time, we would rather come to an agreement. We'll do our due diligence. As long as what we talked about's there, we're fine. And if it's not, even if it doesn't work out and something's wrong, we'll talk about it at that point, but there's no charge to you. We're paying for all closing costs. We're paying for all the inspections. So there's, it's all on us at this point. It's just for us to verify, because we don't know if the house burned down or anything like that. You really don't have to say all that. You can just say the abbreviated version. But that's how I address it. And not every single time that I say it like that, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Whenever you get an objection, just remember this in sales. people don't care about what the answer is. They just want a answer. So it could be the worst answer in history, because my VAs have come up with some terrible answers to an objection that maybe they didn't know how to handle, and the seller was like, oh, okay. Because they just want an answer. They want to make sure that you're legit and you're not a scam. And so just addressing the elephant in the room really alleviates that. You just say, hey, listen, I understand. It sounds like maybe you think this is a scam, or maybe you're still wondering about us. So if you want, you can check out our Facebook page. We have a whole Facebook page. We have great reviews on there. Set up a free Facebook page. Have somebody write a review for you, a couple good reviews. It's absolutely free. Or if you have a website, you say, hey, check out our website. You know, we're legit. You can see everything about us on there, how we operate. But, you know, we're ready to go as long as we can come to an agreement on price. So, overcoming objections is what I do. And I got started in sales very early before I got into real estate. And I was fortunate because I learned from some of the best people. And they're not even in real estate. You know, I worked at Best Buy selling cell phones. And the guy there, I used to call him the silver-tongued devil, because he would get the best conversion rate on sales, and I was so intrigued by it. And all he would do is go for no. He would simply wait till somebody says no and then ask again. I mean, I would ask 5 to 6 times, and you would be amazed at the numbers that I had compared to the next sales rep, simply because I just kept asking for the sale. And it sounds so, you know, redundant. You hear it all the time, but it's actually very true. The more no's you get from somebody, the more yeses you're going to get as well, because every no gets you closer to a yes. So that is sales 101. But I got very comfortable because I was an introvert. I was scared to talk to people. I couldn't talk in front of people, and I couldn't even call the insurance company for my car because I was so scared to talk to people. Then I got into sales. I got real comfortable talking, hearing rejection, and just putting myself out there. And the results that I saw from it were amazing, so much that I just had to believe in it, because it was night and day compared to the next person. Applying that into real estate is the same thing. You simply just overcome objections to get what you want and re-ask the question. So anytime a seller asks you a question, you immediately want to answer that question and follow up with another question, because you want to take control of that phone call. And by asking a question immediately after, even cutting the seller off sometimes, it messes up their train of thought, and now you're interviewing them like you're supposed to instead of them interviewing you. Because when they start interviewing you, they're going to take you, drag you through the mud, and it's going to get uncomfortable, it's going to get awkward, and that's when you're going to be like, I don't ever want to do that again. So get comfortable on the phone, number one. If you're not okay with rejection, you don't like hearing that, cold call every single Craigslist ad. I don't care if it's for real estate, for motorcycles, for cars. Call every single sales ad and then offer half of what they're asking. You don't even have to close on it. You don't even have to follow through on it. Just ask them half of what they're asking and then wait for the no. And sometimes you might even get a good deal and get a yes. It might turn into a deal. But the whole purpose of it is to get used to people telling you no, and people are saying, I don't like that price, that's ridiculous, or even them cussing you out. Because once you can get that armor, that thick skin, everything else becomes so much easier. The confidence, I mean, I could call anybody in the country who has a property, no matter what. I just bought office furniture for my office that I just got. The first day I walked into my office, I found a flyer of a guy who's moving out. Furniture sale, must go, move out by the end of the month. So he was motivated. I hit him up. I said, hey, what are you looking to get for this futon, this couch, or this futon, this refrigerator, and this microwave? And he told me I wanted $460. I said, well, I'm going to be nowhere near that, but I'll ask my partner and see what he thinks. He said, okay, just let me know. I said, I can't pay you any more than $100. What do you guys think? Would you think that would be awkward, or that conversation would be hard? It wasn't for me, because I didn't want to pay more than $100. I knew my limit was like $200, but I was like, you know what? I just got in the office. I really don't want the furniture, but I'll just see what happens. And sure enough, after a couple of days, he said I can do $200. I said, you know what? My partner said he can do $150, and that's it. He said, if you can do $150 by the end of the day, I will let you have it. And so I got all the furniture for $150. because I just made the offer, right? I didn't even expect it to be accepted. Now I got a sweet ass futon that's worth about $250, a refrigerator that's worth about $100, all of that for $150 because I knew the guy had to move out. He hasn't really sold anything, so I had the upper hand, and whoever's the most desperate loses. Just remember that. So, it's not like you're abusing power or you're not taking advantage of anybody, right? Because when you start getting into it like that, thinking of sales that you're taking advantage of people, that's the wrong mindset. You're thinking of them as victims, right? Nobody's a victim in this world. You know, you take responsibility for what happens, and that person is in control of saying no, and they're in control of, saying, this isn't a deal for me, I don't like that deal. Great, it doesn't hurt to ask. So that person had every responsibility, every right, he had all the power in the world to say no, but he didn't, all because we asked. So there's nothing wrong with asking and offering a low price. Do y'all have any other questions about wholesaling, sales, business, entrepreneurship, personal motivation, anything? I am on a roll right now. I got the protein powder in me, the creatine, I'm ready to go. And I appreciate you all that are here right now, asking questions, watching. I really appreciate this. I really want to help the wholesaling community because I feel like it's grown without any kind of foundation work, and people are just getting into it, getting in trouble, getting the sellers in trouble, and it's going to start being litigated a lot more, and I don't want that to happen because anytime the government steps in for any reason, it's not good. So because nobody likes to be told how to do their job. If they did, they would probably become a realtor because realtors are highly regulated, and I got to give them credit because some of them are really great, and some of them are, because the rules that are in place are unable to do their job to the best of their ability, and it limits them on what they can do. So I got to give them credit, credit's due, because I would not want to be a realtor. They got to pay fees to the Realtors Association. They got to pay for the MLS access. They got to pay the broker. I mean, they're going out there hustling, getting all this stuff done, and they're highly regulated. That's why I don't want wholesaling to get that way. Because wholesaling is a business, and in any business, you should not be told how to run your business. Obviously, everybody has an ethical obligation, and, but that's that. So, are you guys getting anything from this? Any good feedback? Any good information? Any value? If you are, please smash that thumbs up. That lets me know that, hey, Alex, you're doing something all right. And even if you don't agree with what I'm saying or you think something should be said differently, let me know. We're here to talk and have an open conversation about anything. Business, entrepreneurship, real estate, wholesaling, whatever. Ask away. But I think that was all the systems that I use in my business. I'm trying to think if there's any more. Oh, CallRail and Call Tools. I'm about to buy Call Tools today. What's a good list to pull? Yeah, that's a great question, Wu-Tang. So a good list, you can pull high equities. You're going to get a lot more people who are not interested. You're going to burn through a lot more data before you get to a deal, typically. But that's probably the best place to start because you're going to get a lot more hands-on experience if you don't already have it. If you just want a little bit more targeted data, tax delinquents are really good. I've had really great success with that. And driving for dollars. Driving for dollars, I know you said you're going to buy Call Tools, but you can even just drive for dollars, keep track of those properties, skip trace them, put them in the Call Tools. But honestly, I'm about to make a video here soon about driving for dollars and cold calling the people right there on the spot because I've had a lot of success with that. I'm in Chicago, and a lot of wholesalers have spoken down about wholesaling in Illinois due to the laws. I have to get a license in Chicago, but do you think it's still good market in Chicago or Illinois? So personally, me with knowing how to wholesale virtually, I would say no. Just because I don't, like I said before, I don't like to have any kind of regulations. I don't like to be regulated at all. I want to do business how I do business. But if you have to get a license to do wholesaling and that's what it takes, by all means, get it done. And then you have MLS access. So there's nothing wrong with that. You might have to take a couple extra steps, but I know people who do wholesale in Chicago and they do well. So if that's where you want to be and that's where you want to wholesale, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. And also, as they add more laws, you're going to have the upper hand because not a lot of people are going to be getting into Chicago because they're scared by that and they're intimidated by that. So by you learning the ropes, you're going to have more opportunity. So absolutely, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Talk about how you get the seller to give their number first. Yep, so here's exactly how I ask that question. I say, hey, Mr. Seller, how much were you hoping to sell the property for? Now, this would be the net amount that you would put in your pocket at closing once all the closing costs are taken care of, as well as the mortgage. And they'll say, well, make me an offer. I say, well, you know what? It's actually just not my job to make an offer. It's my job to collect this information to hand to my purchase manager so that they can make the offer for you and the best offer for you in the next 24 to 48 hours. So with that being said, is there an amount that you would like to get? And if they still say no, I say, I completely understand. I mean, did you have an estimate of cash that you wanted? They still say no. I say, okay, well, listen, we got way too many prospects who are interested in selling to be focusing on those who are not. How about I give you a couple of days to think about what you want and give you a call back then? And what's going to happen is they're going to give you a price right then and there, or if they're not motivated, they're going to save you the time. They're going to hang up and say, don't call me back. It's not about converting every deal. It's about finding the most motivated sellers, because working with people who are not motivated, like the $75,000 deal, is a huge pain in the ass. Those are the worst sellers to deal with, and the money might be great, but the headache sometimes is not worth it. And I've dealt with a difficult seller and only made $5,000 before. So it's all about not being desperate and getting what you want. And if they say no, I just ask again. I just ask again in a different way. So have about 4 to 5 responses that are different from the first time you asked, that still ask the same question, and you'll be amazed at how many times they give you an answer. And I also ask them what they think the property is worth in today's market, both in the as-is condition and after we do any repairs. And that kind of gives me an estimate of what they're wanting for the property if they don't give me an asking price. So as long as I have one of those two things, I usually move on to the offer call. But if they refuse to give me any information, I don't even go to the offer call. They're not worth it until they do. But it doesn't hurt to actually throw out a number if you're desperate for a deal and you want to try it. You can throw out a number, but I don't recommend it. Never be desperate. The seller can totally tell. Absolutely. When the seller knows you're desperate, it's over. And by playing it off like, hey, we have way too many deals to look at, to focus on those who are not interested. How about I call you back in a couple of days, and what you're doing is you're turning them down nicely, and they realize that, hey, if I really want to sell my property, I need to speak up about what I want. And sometimes they'll even give you an astronomical number that's ridiculous. I would still recommend calling back no matter what they ask for and make the offer, because you're building that relationship for the follow-up down the road. Hey, Alex, are you totally virtual? Yep, absolutely, 100% virtual. That's a great question, Rick. I do, like, if I'm doing a deal locally, I'll go out and just look at it for Instagram or something, take some photos, some videos. And I do like to meet the seller every now and then because it's fun. But I am 100% virtual. How many cold calls did you make before you got your first deal? How many months did it take you for you to learn? So that's a very good question. I actually was not even interested in wholesaling. I met some guys who were doing it. I met them for lunch, offered to buy them lunch, and they told me about what wholesaling was and that they were working on some deals right now. And later on, after meeting with them, they texted me and asked if I wanted to he asked if I wanted to work for them, and I said absolutely, because I had just quit my job. I didn't have any income, and they give me a list of 600 dead leads. I didn't know they were dead leads at the time, probably, 'cause then I probably would have never called them. But these are leads that were like, hey, I'm not interested in selling. I cold called every single one by one, because I didn't know there was auto dialers. And out of that 600 people, I found 3 properties from the same seller that we got under contract in my first month. And that is how I learned. Very quickly, I got over the fear of rejection because, again, this was a dead lead list, and they probably didn't expect me to pull anything out of it. They even let me renegotiate the seller, negotiate them in the first place. I mean, I did everything from A to Z besides find the buyer. I showed the buyer. I went to closing. I mean, it was a really great experience, and I learned it all for free, and I got paid. It was like $1,500 for a $12,000 assignment fee, but you know, that was, to me, that was a lot of money when I first started out. So I was like, man, this is all it takes is just cold calling and talking to people. So I would say I got 3 deals out of that 600 people, and that's kind of the ratio. And I had no experience, no script. They didn't give me any information. They just said, here's what we need to know, and that was it. So I had nothing to go off of. I just took action. Now, if I called that same list, I could probably get about 4 to 5 deals out of it from different sellers. But you make up in numbers what you lack in experience when you start out. And whenever you get experience, you start making up conversions for the less numbers, because you get better at, you know, sales. You get better at what you do. So my recommendation is, even if you fuck up the worst you can fuck up, call every single person and their mother and just get that experience. That experience, the best knowledge you can gain is experience. Albert Einstein said that. Strongly believe that. He moved it until tomorrow at 11. How do you think that place is time-wise? That was a great question, though. What other questions do you guys have? Yeah, it's really just about getting out there. Really just getting that hands-on experience. And it's not the sexy answer, right? Everybody's like, hey, you can text blast, you don't have to talk to sellers, and that's very true. But at some point, something might go wrong with that deal, and you have to get on that phone. There's no way you can take control of a situation quicker than getting on the phone with somebody and getting it handled right then and there. So if you can get comfortable from the get-go, you're going to be so much more well off, because when you go to scale up with your VAs, they're going to feel and sense that confidence from their leader, which is you. They're going to sense that from their boss, and they're going to feel confident in the system that you have in place. And if you can instill confidence in them, then they can be confident themselves and know that the process is going to work because you've tried it. Any difficulty in finding boots on the ground? So if you're in a brand new market, virtual, local, whatever, boots on the ground are pretty easy to find. I have a whole video on how you can filter cash buyers, and it's exactly how I was taught. I paid, like I said, on this training, $50,000 to learn this information, and it's the way I filter my buyers. And you filter your boots on the ground the same way. You're going to find people that are hustlers, go-getters, and there's a lot of people out there that want to get in this business, but they don't know how. And so by giving them the opportunity to be your boots on the ground, they would go out there. You can also check out my other video about TaskRabbit, and I now use that to find all my boots on the ground for like 15 bucks an hour. So I have a whole video on breaking that down. TaskRabbit, it's just like it sounds, the task and then the animal rabbit. And you can find people to run your errands. It's like Uber for errands. What's a good average number of people list to pull? 300, 400, 500? So you can get a pretty decent size with high equity from list source or even PropStream. And I would say, you know, so the philosophy in my business is one lead, or one prospect rather, is enough, because what you're trying to do is get an answer out of every single person. So, you know, if I had to throw a number out there, 500 to 1,000 is probably a good place to start. But if it costs you more than $100 to get that 500 to 1,000, don't do it. Just find whatever free information you can from the. You can get free county data, and you can get as much data from there as you want, and you can start there. We'll check it out. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. These are all really great questions, y'all. Do you all have any other questions? Do you mess with probates? So I actually was using US Lead Source for my probates, and I paid probably around $5,000 for all these leads, or for all these prospects, and I pulled a couple leads out of it, but nothing ever came to fruition. And maybe like one or two of them was things outside of my control, but for the most part, nothing has ever come out of a probate deal for me. So I think they're great lead sources, but I think they're only great if you can get them for free by pulling them from the county or going to the county to get them. So that's the only time I'd mess with them, because I'm not a big fan of paying for data unless you're producing deals on a daily, monthly basis, and you have the money to spend, because there's so many ways to get free data out there that I strongly recommend you just stick with that. I have PropStream as a free to pull list on there. Yeah, so you can pull high equities, you can pull vacants, you can pull tax delinquents, you can pull HOA liens, you can pull utility liens, child support liens, other liens. I mean, there's a whole bunch of lists you can pull in PropStream, and you can pull up to 10,000 your first month. And that would be enough to get started, so you wouldn't even need to pay for it unless you wanted to use it for comps. Didn't mean to make it sound like that. Not sure what you mean. Probates, I think any lead source is great, but any free lead source is better, because you're going to get a better return on investment. And for somebody who's getting started, you can leverage your hustle ability and your time to make that money. Later down the road, you use that money to buy your time by doing marketing, so that way you don't have to leverage so much of your own time going out there to get it. But PropStream, yeah, you can pull up to 10,000 prospects per month. So that's kind of their thing. But their data, it may not be as up to date as some of these other platforms, but that stuff really doesn't matter, because what people are doing anyways is they're pulling 10,000 people. They're pulling 10,000 people, they're hitting it once, and then they're pulling another 10,000 people next month. So there's really no problem with it being a little bit outdated, because you can, again, leverage your time and energy to maximize hitting that list multiple times, whereas people are just burning and turning. Didn't mean to make it sound like that. Oh, okay. I mean, it's not a bad niche to get into. Yeah, it's definitely not a bad niche to get into. Definitely. But the most success that I've had was from tax liens. But some investors look at ambulance chasing. So any liens that you can get, like there's a water shutoff lien you can get from your county most times. Utility liens are great because they're a clear indicator that the property is either vacant or not taken care of. But even just going on Google Street View, finding a city that you're wholesaling in, even if it's in your own backyard, and just going up and down each and every street until you find an abandoned building, take down the address, the information. If you have Deal Machine, you just simply type the address in there and it pulls everything up for you. You can skip trace it right then and there, or you can just keep adding it to your list and then cold call them later, whatever you want to do. But man, there's so much you can do virtually. Just driving for dollars on Google and maximize your time to make that money again. I found this deal again by accident, so totally capable of making 75 grand on a deal that you found by accident through Google Street View you spent 5 minutes on. So there's a ton of different lists that you can pull, but you're going to get the most data from high equity. Vacants is a good one to start with. You can even stack the data and cold call the tax delinquents that are also vacant, and that's a really good one. So we call those vexations, the different levels of motivation. So they have two vexations, vacant and tax liens, so they're each different vexations, and stacking them, list stacking essentially, is really good. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be more likely to sell. Sorry for being fragmented here. Oh, no worry. I don't look at it like that or anything. I don't think you meant it anything bad or anything like that. So these are all really great questions, y'all. Did you all have any other questions for me or wanted me to talk about anything? We've been on here for about an hour now. This is probably the longest one I've done. I don't mind doing this. I enjoy it. But I do smell pretty bad from the gym, and I do need to take a shower here shortly. But I want to answer any last minute questions. And maybe if you guys haven't already, if you subscribe and click the notification bell, I might start going live a little bit more often, because I got a lot of people who are asking questions, and I'd like to just capitalize it all in one big time, either 2 or 3 times a week, so that way you guys get notified, because I might not be able to announce it right away. It might be kind of on the fly while I have some free time, and I go live to answer questions. Also, it helps if you guys share my videos, or maybe if you have any colleagues, friends that are in the industry who are looking for some answers in the business, refer them to my channel, and we can start helping out the community like this. Because again, my whole goal is to help out the community, educate the community, so we can grow together. That way this industry doesn't get more regulated like Illinois, and so we can all, because I kind of started from the bottom, so I know how it is. Even for people who have money, it doesn't matter if you start with money or you don't. You still have to take action and learn through experience. You still have to go out there and fail forward. So there's no such thing as an advantage, or there's no such thing as having a head start. The only head start is the one you give yourself. So for example, I worked for those other people, and I got to experience everything because I got the trial by fire. I got thrown into the fire pit, and because I didn't have any training or anything, I had to figure it out. And for me, that's the best way I learn. Not everybody learns that way, but I think that's one of the best methods, is just to go out there and freaking put yourself in the fire, right? Because you're going to get burned, but you're going to learn how not to get burned again. And that is worth more than any amount of money that you think you can pay for somebody to teach you. Because you can learn all this information, but until you apply it, it's not going to mean anything. So everything that I talk about, if I answered your question, or maybe you're just holding on to take that next step, well, first off, ask the question if you don't know what the next step is. But more importantly, if I answered your question, take action on it immediately so you don't forget it. And then once you succeed, or you have any success from anything that I've mentioned, please let me know in the comments, because I love to hear that you guys are succeeding. Or maybe even if I had 1%, any kind of 1% contribution to that, I won't take any credit because you're taking the action. But I just like to know these things, because at the end of the day, it makes me feel good. Putting this information out, you guys are succeeding from it. That's all I want to know. So, but it doesn't look like we have any other last minute questions. So I just want to say to those who already subscribed, thanks for subscribing, being a supporter of the channel. Thanks for joining the family. For those who have not or have considered subscribing, please do. I'm pumping out this content as often as I can. I plan to make it a little bit more full-time thing, and I really enjoy getting on here and sharing. I mean, it doesn't even feel like I've been on for an hour. It feels like I've been on for 5 minutes. So thank you all for being here. I wish you the best this weekend. Have a safe and great weekend, and just go and do you. Make that money. Make that money.